Good morning. Welcome back to Business AM. You're still watching your economic review this morning. So let's go to another headline that you're waking up to this morning that's going to form center stage in our conversation. Now, beer distributors have called on the Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, to reconsider its proposal to increase tax on alcoholic beverages starting next month to cater for inflation. According to representatives of over 70 alcohol distributors in the country, the proposed 30% increase in excise duty would worsen the situation in the alcoholic beverage sector that has suffered a slump because of the restrictions on social gatherings imposed to limit the spread of the COVID-19. On its part, KRA has called for input from interested parties ahead of the annual increase set to take effect from October 1st, insisting that it merely implements the law and is not in charge of coming up with policies. Now, the National Assembly changed the Excise Duty Act via this year's Finance Act to make it mandatory for the taxman to consult the National Treasury and stakeholders before effecting the inflammatory adjustment on excise duty. The beer distributors are now looking forward to reopening of entertainment joints and are calling on the taxman to consider them, as over 100,000 jobs have already been lost and 400,000 livelihoods affected in the sector. Against this, the alcohol distributors say that an increase in prices will only mean more losses for the already ailing sector. Speaking during a press briefing in Nairobi, the distributors have said they will adhere to the Ministry of Health guidelines and protocols, among them operating at a 50% capacity to mitigate the spread of the virus in the country. Joining us this morning, I'm going to introduce them on a case on point. We're joined by Doc Polo. He is the CEO, Perak. Good morning, sir. How are you doing? Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you.
All right, let's pick your thoughts on that as well. Yes, you have been affected. We know how much the sector has been reeling from the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. And now you are facing an increment in tax as from October 1st. Talk to me. Is the move to increase taxes on alcoholic beverages ill-timed?
Thank you very, very much. I will start from the caveat. Director General can say that it's what is it. Right now, I'd like to answer.
All right, we're trying to work on your audio this morning. Yeah, it's got a bit of a difficult. As we try fix it, let me move on to Boniface Gashonka Kimani, is the Secretary General, National Bars Association. Boniface, yes, as from October 1st, you are looking at increased taxes again. Talk to me, is this move ill-timed, and what would you have loved for KRA to really do? Because they are well cognizant of the fact that you've been heavily affected by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Good morning, viewers. This move is highly ill-timed because from March 23rd, the whole industry has been suffering, and we stand at a point where we are supposed to revive an industry. From where I sit, I represent 54,000 bar owners in 41 counties. And as we were doing our research yesterday and today, we've come to realize that majority of our members are going to shut down due to fixed costs. That is rent and all the fixed costs that are accrued to our businesses. Our businesses has a lot of overheads. And as we've been working together with the different ministries, NMAC, to try and negotiate with the government to head towards reopening, we've been blasted by an increase in tax of excess duty, which is very unfortunate. And one of the things that we've been talking to the government is, I don't know why the alcohol industry is hated with such a passion, but when it comes to collection of taxes, we become darling, and we're given all those taxes that are called sin tax. On my side, this is a very wrong move. And right now we're looking at an industry that was shut down for the last 5 or 6 months. If you look at majority of our members, which are small bars and restaurants, majority of these people have just been living on survival. And we're looking forward at a point where, together with the manufacturers, we're going to start kickstarting projects and processes and helping them to come back into business. But if the cost of these products increases by even a shilling, that will mean that majority of our customers are going to move to illicit, which has been very well facilitated by that closure of business during the COVID period. Illicit take 44% of the market share. So actually, the largest share is not from legally sold alcohol. What we would advise KRA is for us to work together with all the government agencies and try and reduce the illicit, because the impact of illicit, the way it has grown during COVID period, is an impact that we will live with, and we will fight against it for a long time. Because right now, illicit has really grown. Because when you close the legally registered businesses without consultation, one of the things that we've been calling on is we were ordered to close. We were not consulted. We did not participate in those conversations. We were ordered. And through the spirit of public participation, we've come up and sat down with the government. We've discussed a few things on how well we can open legally and within COVID regulations. And we've agreed. And they've come to appreciate the leadership that leads this industry. These are very wise people. For example, the association that leads this industry, there are only 3. One of them is ABAC. This is an association of manufacturers. They have their own policies and they have their own way of operation. Number 2, we have BALITA, the National Bar Owners Association, where I head. And number 3, we have PERAC. We have sat down with government. We've given them very good ideas on how we're going to reopen. But as we were negotiating, as our people were suffering, because right now we are competing an industrial loss of 50 billion. We are talking of talent loss of human beings, very highly talented youth, that we are not even going to recover, of more than 100,000. We're talking of an industrial loss that is from the manufacturer side of 36 billion. This year, because of COVID, we as an association decided that we are not going to talk about figures and anything. We are going to talk about livelihoods. We are going to take care of each and every regulation that has been given by government. And that is why we've participated in all those negotiations. So this year we're not focused so much on revenues or how many how many profits or anything. Even the billionaires like Jack Ma, they said it's only a businessman who's not conscious that will talk about profits this year.
Yes, Boniface, if I may just try and bring in Uyi this morning, because my next question to you, Boniface, is that KRA is saying, well, we are not trying to block you. We are pretty much just effecting what is within our mandate, that we're supposed to adjust these prices in relation to inflation. Now, Uyi, if I may just bring you in on this as well. I mean, does that make sense to you from where you seated this morning when KRA is telling you, well, we are not in charge of what goes on in your sector, in your industry. We're just in charge of making sure that all the inflation costs or levels are pretty much adjusted in our taxes?
When you talk about inflation...
Yes, Boniface, if I may bring Uyi on that before you also come in on that sentiment as well.
Thank you.
What I'd like to say is, as a regulator, they need to have their hand on the pulse of the economy. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Even the Central Bank of Kenya, as part of its regulatory oversight and function, basically uses two yardsticks, fiscal policy and monetary policy, which Keynesian theory and traditional economists will call moral suasion and the normal statistics and indices. So when you have a regulator who's coming out to tell a country that it's not his duty to write the laws, it's only his duty to implement it, then that's a bit of an insensitive thing. And history is replete with similar type of decisions that were made that backfired. Bonnie has talked about illicit brew. The reason why keg was brought in was to help tackle problems of illicit brew. Remission tax was put on keg some time back. Our national health bill jumped through the roof. They had to recall it back. You also recall 8% tax was put on petrol. Consumption of petrol dropped by 25%. So if we are not cognizant of those type of issues, and then now we are thinking of increasing the excise duty by a factor of a 5.4 inflation rate, I can guarantee you it's going to be a net negative. Consumption overall volume will drop by at least 25 to 40% on a back-to-back level of both COVID and reduction in spending. So at the end of the day, it's what psychologists will call mutually assured destruction. You will not achieve your targets, volumes will drop, there is really no headroom in terms of increasing your collection in terms of excise duty, because it's based on volume rather than on price. So at the end of the day, I think we should get away from I didn't set the rules. I'm only implementing the rules to look and feel the pulse of the economy and decide what is best for the economy. As it is already, I don't know if you read yesterday's papers, the CS for the Exchequer has already started cutting down on all the numbers and budgets for this year. He's cut down 22 billion, or is it 200 and something billion from excise duty. Is not going to be achieved. He's cutting down on VAT projections. He's cutting down on this. So if your overriding boss is cutting down, why do you want to increase? Who are you trying to please? Are you trying to please him, or you're trying to work for the benefit of the economy? Just like what Bonnie said, the sector we're in has been the whipping baby and the flogging child for everything wrong in this country. But when it comes to wanting to extract a pound of flesh, we're always the ones who are hit the most. We sell entertainment, we sell fine dining, we sell destination and tourism. And there's no gainsaying that we have huge contributions into this the economy. Our members have not been able to do any meaningful sale. Just like Bonnie said, we've had discussions, we've had active interactions, both ABAC, PERAC, Balita, with the government. And we are highly optimistic that our proposals will be adopted so that we can then reopen and start to try recouping what would help us. And you saw the other day, I'm trying to remember who was it, an economist of renown, who said, I think it's a controller of budget, who said the economic stimulus package, it's not enough to help.
Yes, but Bonnie, just because of time, I'm going to get your 2 cents on that as well, just before we clear this conversation again this morning. Bonnie, let me bring you in as well, because the question is going to be, I mean, we are talking about taxes that are thrown to you, and over the other side, you are not open. As we do know of it, you are closed. Are you ready for reopening? Because that's going to be the next question. Because if you're hitting me with an increase in tax, at least make me go back to business. Because where am I going to get this money that you want from me?
That is true. That even when we talk about reopening, even for the businesses you would call healthy, if you shut down a business for all those months, all the months that we've been shut down, even if it is personal savings or any loan that you talk about, by now all that savings has been brushed off by the fixed cost. That is the rent and all the security and what have you. You know, we have cases in the whole country where most of our members were targeted through thuggery and robbery. So with that, Even the financial institutions that we've talked with, we've signed agreements with a SACCO called Amica to come and try and bring our members in business. Even those SACCOs that we've signed with, part of the guarantee will be forced to be given by the association because our members have no money. So when we talk about an increase in taxation, that is very unfair. It's very uncalled for.
Pretty much.
Very uncalled for. It's very unfair.
Yes, Bonnie, just because of time again, let me just cross over to Uye as well. I mean, yes, everybody does know. It looks unfair from your position, but then what approach should they have taken? Because, Uye, KRA will not come and look for you and then tell you, oh, by the way, as from October 1st, this is exactly what we intend to do. They're merely saying, well, you have your leeway. If you want to disagree, you can disagree. But for us, we're just implementing the law. What incentive should the government give you right now that's going to make you come back to business properly?
Okay, for time's sake and for brevity, I'll use one stone to kill three birds. One, we've been ready to open since the 25th of March 2020 because the protocols that were set in place by Ministry of Health and all the other ministries, we have always operated with those protocols from when the industry became an industry in the 70s and the 80s. Two, it's within KRA's right to want to stand and hold firm that it's their duty to implement. What we are saying is we do not want a mutually assured destruction platform. We can also decide, listen, it's a business decision. It's not worth our while. We're all shutting down to go into farming. We're going into other products. Where will they now meet the shortfall from? So we need to stop this eyeballing and saying we are the law. We will do what we want because the law says we should do that. What we expect from them is let them defer whatever increments they're thinking of now until 2023 or thereabouts, when the economy would have picked up again, businesses would have revived themselves, and stimulus package 2 or 3 would have been put in place to help businesses retune, restock, and reinvent themselves. Then lastly, I just want to say that less taxation spurs increase in consumer numbers, resulting to more tax on excess revenues by the exchequer, which will then create a win-win scenario. And this is what we expect the KRA to adopt. Thank you.
Pretty much, Oye. Doc Polo, the CEO Perak. We do have Boniface Kashoka Kimani, Secretary General, National Bar Owners Association. Thank you very much for sharing your sentiments with us this morning. And guess what? On October 1st, once we see the ones that have been affected, guess what? We shall be calling you back again to see whether indeed your voices have been listened to. We're also waiting for the next presidential address to see whether you guys can actually get back to full business. And that's exactly how we come to the end of our show this morning.